Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of this last ball show that we have here on Talking Tennis. It turns out that it's actually going to be Vansh and me again, so the same squad as yesterday. We did so well that John decided that it's time, for us to do it again. He actually thought that we were exceptional, and figured he has to invite us again. So we are here, and yeah, let's just get down to business. And I have a let's start from this thought that I had today because it's the same thing like yesterday. I am looking at the women's event and there's like been no classics, no big stories. And I think that's actually not an accident. I think this is because of the best of three format. I think it just sucks. There are so many men's matches that I know I will remember from this event. And on the women's side, it's just so hard to find anything. And I actually think that if they were four setters, five setters, they would have been much more compelling. At the same time, I also get the what people are saying, that like no one watches a best of five sets match from start to finish, basically. But yeah, I really feel like if some of these matches just felt more grandiose to compared to just regular to level events, regular matches that we watch every single week, I think they would have been more compelling actually.
Yeah, I've certainly had that thought in many majors. I mean, not just this one, particularly a lot of finals in the past. I figured, man, if this was best of five, I mean, how would this play out? You have so much more, um, interest that you can really build up, and you can really, it's a win-win sort of for everyone. But the question is, like, do the players want it? That's what I'm not sure about.
Yeah.
I'd love to know, like, do all the top players, like, would they be willing to do this, and how would it sort of work scheduling wise? Because in terms of the product, I fully agree. Like, if the women's event at least had a few rounds that were best of five, it would certainly help. I think, because like looking at these matches today, like, you're kind of right. I mean, there's just like there's no real, like, interesting moments so far, at least in the last two days on the women's side. And that might change later, but it seems like that's kind of how it's been. I mean, there's a few like compelling matches that obviously, like we talked about Mukova Sakura yesterday. Um, Maybe a couple more today that were interesting, but it's not nothing super grandiose yet. Uh, but I kind of wonder, what if they started these events, like what if they did 3 days for the first round and the second round, and maybe, like, as a trial run, we did best of five for the
You mean
first
but then when
week
would the
or
event
something.
start? When would the event start?
Probably the Friday, right? Before. But I don't know how that would
Yeah, but
impact the, like,
exactly. That kind of
week
wrecks the
before
events
that.
of the previous week, right? So that's a problem that I
Yeah.
have in my mind. John says that the stats research group suggests that best of
Unless
three
they
was
just don't
more.
have any
Oh, I can
events
just
the
put it
week
on the
before.
screen. I'm an idiot. But that best of three was more captivating for the audience. I get that. Like, I get short attention span. I frankly have an extremely short
Yeah.
attention span. Like, I basically have to be watching like two things at the same time right now. Like, I'm not satisfied. I don't know, watching one tennis match and sitting down. There has to be some YouTube, there has to be another tennis match, there has to be something else that I'm doing. So I totally get all of that. But if we're thinking of
Yeah.
like the best matches of all time, if we're thinking of the classics, it's always five setters, maybe four setters, but best of five matches. And as much as I definitely get the fact that no one is really watching like a five setter from start to finish, maybe in some extreme cases, tennis nerds like us will, but at the same time, you're also probably going to be switching between matches or something. But at the same time, this
Yeah.
produces the best stories for sure. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just
Well,
feel
I
like
mean,
that's
also it
that's why
increases.
maybe. Mhm. I think it cut you off, at least on my screen.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
you went away for a bit.
yeah, I think it was you actually, but
I
I'm not
think I
sure.
might even have as well. I think we were both just sort of cutting off.
Maybe. John also says something about, yeah, 16, 17 is really going to be hard to make it with the other events, before that. I think the players
Yeah.
wouldn't be happy if there weren't any 250s in the week prior to a slam. That's probably not great. And yeah, if someone is playing like a challenger before a Grand Slam, then he's probably not playing a Grand Slam main draw most of the time. So I think that maybe isn't a problem. But yeah, just not having any 250s a week before the slam, not having any way to get much practice for players who are already in the main draw. I don't think that's really good. But starting Sunday, that's
Mm,
something all the slams should be doing, like 100%.
yeah, I
But yeah,
love the
like, mhm.
French Sunday start for sure. It's I've really come around to it in years.
Congrats, John. Um, well done. Anyway, let's get to the. Where do you want to start? Because last time we talked about the women's event first. I guess since we've said that it's like
Yeah.
a little less compelling, we can go there first as well, and then just stick around with the men's.
Uh-huh.
I guess that will be fine. So yeah, what was the
Yeah.
main deal today? What was the story of the day on the women's side?
Mm, I mean, you had a match with Ostapenko hitting 44 winners, 44 unforced errors. I don't know if that's the main story, but she had this insane comeback from 5-1 down in the second set, and then just did what Ostapenko does. Um, oh yeah, I guess the main seed that we lost today was Kudermetova and Bencic. Those are the two main ones
Yeah.
that went out today. Um, but certainly Bencic is not too much of a surprise that she went out. She did start very very slowly in this match, and I unfortunately didn't get to see it. Like I mean, I didn't get to see like many of the women's matches today, honestly, and since a lot of them really just started way too early that I could even get a screen going and finished rather quickly. But Bencic going out was definitely a surprise, and same with Kudermetova, obviously. She was in good form, semis of Madrid and Rome, and certainly had a good chance to go deep here. Um, but kind of didn't play well today. So that's probably the two biggest surprises. And I guess Petra Kvitova going out is not that much of a surprise either. But the 10 seed, we are funny. We actually had the 10 seed going out in both the ATP and the WTA today because
um,
Felix on the ATP side.
Felix. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely get that all of these players went out, but like neither was really a big favorite to do anything, right? Maybe Kudermetova after a solid Madrid
Yeah,
Rome
I think she was probably
season.
the most likely for me to get to the quarters. I would say because she's in that sort of she's in that golf section, which I felt like she probably was the favorite in. But in
Yeah,
terms of
but
winning
that's
the
why I
event, I don't
had
think
Mira
she
Andreeva.
contend that
That's
much.
why that's why I have Mira Andreeva in the quarters because she has
Yeah,
a great
that
skill
no,
set to
that
beat
could
Goff,
actually
and
work.
yeah,
Yeah,
like if she pulls through Kalinina, I will feel very confident actually. And of course, now that
hmm
Kudermetova is not in the tournament, maybe it is not. Maybe it is like easy for me to say that. But I just never figured her as a threat really. Anyway, Kudermetova, I know she did well in Madrid and Rome. It's just that whenever she runs into like the first, well, I don't want to say decent, but like the first opponent of like real quality, the first top opponent, the first, I don't know, the informed player that she meets in the semifinals, quarterfinals, she usually just looks inadequate, I would say. And that's what really is like driving me away from her in terms of like any predictions most of the time. Definitely a very weak section there, like right now with Keys playing day and then Schmidlova or Bolsova Zadoinov. So I suppose it should be Keys is the main favorite to go to the fourth round, and yeah, a great chance for Gov, Kalinina, Andreeva. And you also mentioned Kvitova. I think we talked about her yesterday. That basically we have no idea what Petra Kvitova is going to bring to
yeah,
the court. I think someone in the chat, maybe Ghosty, said that it was like Kvitova already had Miami this year, and that might
yeah,
be it. And it's kind of true with her, right? I mean, in the past couple of years,
it's
it
true.
has
Yeah,
certainly looked like that for sure. Iga said in Madrid, by the
yeah,
way, says John that Kudermetova wasn't a great mover on clay. That's pretty hilarious, but I guess it's kind of the case.
yeah.
Like whenever Kudermetova plays Swiatek, she's just so dismantled
Uh,
that maybe Swiatek doesn't really get like the full picture of Kudermetova even. Someone is asking about Kudermetova's trouble came from playing at night. In a matchup against Schmidlova, I don't think it suits her. But then again, you would still expect someone like Kudermetova to not lose to Schmidlova 3-6, 1-6, right? And Also, the fact that she went
Yeah.
deep in Rome, which well, of the big events on clay are the closest conditions to Paris. So I don't think it's really an excuse. You know, if you hit 40 unforced errors in what in 80 minutes of play, you know, I don't think you can really be excused for that. Maybe if it was a closer match,
Yeah.
we would be talking about this. But I mean, I get that Kudermetova was eighth in Nick's power rankings, as John says. I remember that at the Australian Open, Jack had her in the final or something like that. She has been making people like, yeah, just pick her to go deep, but yeah, usually when she plays like a first top opponent, she just crumbles, and that's why I don't really treat her seriously, never, which is kind of sad. But I just don't think that her years like what she did last year, sticking around the top 10, I don't know if it's really repeatable, unless you to actually get to the top 10, you again just need some consistent results, but don't necessarily not necessarily need titles. And you also said I mean, also the other seeds you mentioned were Bencic, right? And who? uh, hmm. I don't know if I can hear you, but anyway, um,
Yeah.
Bencic, Bencic, of course, you hadn't
Uh,
played since Charleston, yeah, and
yeah. I mean, and then you also had Pliskova losing to Stephens. I
oh
think
yeah,
we both called that one. Uh, Not much of a surprise. I mean, 6-0 in the first set. That doesn't reflect too well on Pliskova, but at the same time, Stephens on clay is just always going to be a bit of a favorite, at least for me. In this kind of matchup, she can really just
she
move
has a really
Pliskova
good head to
around,
head
and
against Pliskova as well, right? Like
yeah,
5-1, right?
it's
5
like
5-1 right
4-1,
now.
4-1 coming in, and now, yeah, 5-1. And
Yeah,
I
on
mean,
clay it's
2021
actually
was supposed
just two
to,
and one, I think, right? But um,
yeah, and I
yeah.
remember they played in 2021 in the second round, and it was like 5-1 for Stephens, and that was the year that Pliskova had made the Rome final, and then later the Wimbledon final, and she was sort of back to her best level. But Stephens always seems to have her number.
Bencic was still off form. I don't think Bencic was ever really off form. She just was injured for a while and just came in and was pretty
Yeah,
rusty. And it's not like the French has been a successful event for her. Clay in general, I mean slow clay, not Madrid, but slow clay is just really tough for her with how flat she takes the ball, how she likes to just take the ball early as well. It's not that easy. Um, Semis now is the winner of JPEG versus Leila Mukova. I mean, I do think that Mukova is a very, very likely semi-finalist. However, like when it comes to golf, I don't know if I put her already like very deep. For me, it's still Mira Andreeva to the quarters. Let's get this. Let's get this. Hype train is rolling. And I think that indeed Kudermetova losing makes it a little easier even because in that fourth round she would now face someone against whom she would be favored. But of course, I'm still like not certain. I'm still not super sold on Andreeva beating Kalinina. I think, but I am kind of sold on her. Like if she beats Kalinina and Goff, on her getting to the quarters. And I think she would face Świątek there, which would be very fun. Another seed I think that went out was also I lost her, and there was another seed. Trevisan, but like everyone
yeah,
expected that in a
Trevisan.
way. It's pretty huge
Hmm.
for her ranking
Yeah,
wise,
I
but
would
like
say it's a good
yeah,
effort for Svitolina to be all the way pretty much very close to where she was maternity leave. It's basically 1 year off tour, and she's already won semis of the 125, lost to Stephens there, and then won the title last week in Strasbourg, and then now this 2-2 win. It just kind of solidifies that she's pretty close back inside the top 50. Um, and I think this is like one of her best majors. I mean, she got to the quarters here in 2017, and then she had that 6-3. She famously had that 6-3-5-1 lead over
yes,
Halep, and
that was the
the year that
closest
Halep.
she got to winning a slam. I will argue that
Yeah, I can argue that as well. Yeah, because the two semifinals that she lost were blowouts.
exactly.
But I think had she won the Halep match, there was a very good chance she could have won that tournament.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about this. They were definitely the two main favorites. Of course, eventually Ostapenko ended up winning it. Maybe she beats
Yeah,
Svitolina as well. It's not like, I mean, Svitolina had any real options to like disrupt Ostapenko's rhythm. So maybe she actually loses anyway. But yeah, at the time it felt
yeah,
definitely very meaningful. And as you said, I mean, both times she went to the semifinals of slams, she actually lost so easily that I don't think we can really
yeah,
say that she was close to winning these. Whereas in 2017, it certainly felt like Świątek, Jesus, Svitolina and Halep were the two strongest players left in the field. In the end, Ostapenko won, but that's how it felt at the time, at least. Do you think
mhm,
Kalinina is the most underrated player in whole WTA? Um, I don't know. She's still underrated.
mm, yeah.
Um,
There's
is she
definitely a
like
few
much
others. I mean,
better? Yeah. Is she like much better than than her ranking? I'm not really sure. Like I think 25 is pretty accurate. Maybe she could be in the top 20, but still you have around her you have players like Kim Zheng, Potapova. I don't think she's quite there.
mhm,
Maybe someone like Vekic. I don't think she's really around this sort of level. So, of course, she's just had the biggest run of her career, and in the I kind of wonder where she is in the WTA race. 17. So yeah, even this year with these 600 points. Well, it's Rome, so not 600, right? It would be a little less, but like 500
yeah,
something points, she is in the top 20 in the WTA race, and that can be quite accurate, I would say. Um, but yeah, I'd also probably find some other answers for that if I had to do it. Yeah, I'm glancing through the results. Of course, Kaya Kanepi did not make an upset, which was quite surprising in a way. We had another one of the we had Camila Osorio taking that chance that she got, which was cool to see for sure. I still feel like she can go really deep in this event. She's playing Mertens. This is really winnable to me. And then Giorgio Pegula. We talked
yeah,
about it yesterday, but I don't really buy Pegula as like a favorite that needs to go super deep here. So a fourth round for Osorio, is this
mhm,
possible? For me, absolutely.
yeah. Uh, I think Osorio has a good shot. I do have Pagula in my semifinals. Just probability. I don't feel that confident about it though. I think I had like a Mukova Pagula quarterfinal, and then Pagula just edging through. But I wouldn't be surprised if Mukova got there. If Osorio made a run. If I feel like this is also open along with the golf one.
Yeah, absolutely. They are strong. They can get far, but they are also in that sort of Kudermetova type of deal, right? Where
Yeah,
where they are very likely to go deep. Usually, they are very likely to beat like opponents they have to beat, like maybe not necessarily like super strong talents, but just average WTA Tour competition. They are going to beat them. But when they meet
yeah.
someone who's just uber talented and has a good day, or a top player, it usually isn't so great. So yeah, I totally get that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm checking like
Speaking of underrated players,
Mhm.
Max is mentioning Vondrousova, and
Oh yeah,
yeah, I mean Vondrousova is very tricky, and she's almost like one of the more forgotten players, I would say. Having won a silver medal, been a French Open finalist, I think she definitely has a good chance of going deep in this tournament too. She plays Kazakina next. I think that's pretty winnable. She just beat Parks today. She was down 2-0 in the first set. I saw that. But then Parks kind of made a lot of unforced errors, and Vondrousova had just a lot more variety in her game and just ended up pulling through. But I think, uh, yeah, I don't think we can fully rule her out because I also think there's some better women's round two matches coming up because you have Vondrousova Kazakina, and that they play the winner of Stearns and Ostapenko. I think that could
yeah.
be a good match. And then also you also have in terms of other second rounds, I think the one I'm maybe most fascinated by is the Tossin Fernandez. That one is certainly has all the billings of a good match.
Yeah,
So
I
I think we
actually
might have
think that
more to
like
talk about
it's
in the
not
second
gonna
round.
be tough for Vondrousova against Kasatkina. I think it's actually super easy. Vondrousova is clearly the better player for me, and I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but that's definitely how I feel. I feel that Vondrousova, if she
Yeah.
loses before the quarters, it's probably gonna be against Ostapenko rather than Kasatkina. And I think that when Martincova was 5-1 up in the second set, the person that like really wanted her to win today was Vondrousova. And that's not only because she's a Czech and they're probably friends or something, or like at least colleagues, but that's because Vondrousova can lose to Ostapenko. And if Ostapenko was out of the picture, if it was Stearns Martincova in the third round, I mean, she would have had a very clear path if she beats Kasatkina, of course.
Yeah. I mean, Kazakhina and Vondrousova both don't have the strongest second serves. So there's something I think we're going to see a lot of breaks, a lot of long rallies. Their head to head is 2-2. So, the winner of this one, you'd probably make. I I think if Vondrousova gets through this one, I think she's more likely to get to the quarters than Kazakhina is.
Oh, Kasatkina has a
But
terrible matchup against Ostapenko, right?
yeah, yeah, that's awful for her. Although she
Yeah.
did beat her in the Charleston final the year that she won Roland Garros, but
Oh
so
yeah, I
you never
remember
know
that
with Ostapenko.
much. I remember
Yeah,
that much actually because it was it was right before Roland Garros. You're right, and I remember watching that final with
yeah,
my dad actually, and I still had like very little knowledge about tennis at the time, I think, but I remember watching that final with him, and I told him, "Look at them. You're probably gonna see this matchup a lot in the next years." I don't know if it's really happened. I'm not sure if he's watched these matches between Kasatkina and Dostapenko since. But it was a pretty decent prediction for my 2017 tennis knowledge, I think. But yeah, a month
yeah,
later she won Roland Garros, and I of course did not expect that. But yeah, Ostapenko is 5-2 up in the head-to-head against Kasatkina. On clay, it's actually 2-1. This year she lost a set to her in Rome, but of course, like it's pretty obvious that Ostapenko is gonna be on the front foot there. She might hit herself off the
yeah,
court. It's still Ostapenko, but she has a very very clear matchup advantage there. I actually think that she has a very clear matchup advantage against Vondrousova too. It's just that Vondrousova is better equipped to handle it somehow. If I was Vondrousova, I would be really afraid of Ostapenko because you can sometimes just come out and whatever you do doesn't really matter. But if Ostapenko is out of the picture, I would be very very high on Vondrousova making the quarters. Like if I had to make a prediction, as I said, I didn't really do any full draw predictions, but Vondrousova would be my quarter finalist for sure. Um,
mhm,
and there was
yeah,
something in the chat. Who is Iga's potential quarterfinal opponent? It's Goff, but
yeah.
it's
It
gonna
is
be
golf.
Mira Andreeva playing her in the quarterfinals.
Oh yeah,
And,
the
yeah.
Kurobatova.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
someone was mentioning Peyton Stearns. Yeah, I don't think we can rule out Peyton Stearns yet. She's been in good form. Her game actually impressed me quite a bit in Indian Wells when she was playing Andrescu. That was a good match. Pretty high quality from both.
I mean,
And
Stearns
then
is
since
good,
then,
but I don't think she is beating Vondrousova. Um, Ostapenko, it's possible.
yeah, but
Lots of
the weird
players
thing
on the
about
tour can
Vondrousova,
beat.
sometimes she just has an awful serving day. Sometimes she just has an awful serving day and she can get overpowered. That's kind of my concern with her. Like I'm pretty high on her generally, but
Hmm.
I don't know if some days she just doesn't quite have the um like the staying power against the really heavy hitters, and then she can't really like use her variety because
Yeah.
she's hit off the court.
I don't think she
That
will
kind
be
of
hit
happened
off the
against.
court in this event. Like, I don't think she will be a hand hit off the court in Paris unless it's like by a really huge hitter. So like Ostapenko, that's why I'm afraid of Ostapenko. I don't think Peyton Stearns is quite in that group. She definitely has certain assets that could help her against who am I talking about? Vondrousova, but I don't think she can quite hit her off the court. Even if like I don't really think the serve matters that much simply in these matches, which is also why um,
So
yeah.
you have Vondrousova in your quarters. I have
I didn't
Ostapenko.
do I didn't do predictions, but if I did, it would be Vondrousova for sure. Yeah, I would have had Vondrousova, Muchova, and Andreeva all in the quarters.
Yeah.
I think all three of them have a very good shot to make it. All three of them to make it to the quarters. Then you can call me like prediction Jesus or whatever. But we'll see. Yeah, how on a scale of 1 to 10, how shocking it would be if Iga loses in the first round? Asks Nurlan. 11, 12, 13, 14.
15.
I mean, her odds right now
Cancel
are
our podcast.
basically her odds right now are basically Maroshan against Alcaraz, which kind of shows you how ridiculous it was in Rome because it's nowhere near as close. Like it would have to be something related, I think, to some fitness issues. It's not that Buxa doesn't have like a aggressive game. It's just when they played last, it was just so clear that against someone with Iga's weight of shots, she cannot really dictate. And then on clay, it's going to be even tougher to handle that extreme topspin and etc. I don't think it's going to happen really. Anyway, do we have anything else like about the women's event today? Pavlyuchenkova
Garcia survived.
smashed through Virtova. Oh, Garcia smashed. That was pretty good. I did not watch it,
Yeah,
but that's a good story that she survived after such troubles. Um,
yeah.
I think I said it.
Managed to find her, managed to find her game in that third set. Came through a tight first set. So I think the signs are good at least that she managed her nerves enough. She had a bit of a drop off. Wang can be very tricky. Lefty hits some really good angles, and Garcia obviously misfiring on several occasions in that second set. But I think it's cool that she found her way through, and she's a big story at this event, number 5 seed, and hasn't had a great year so far. But um, she's certainly someone I enjoy watching when she's playing her best
Oh,
tennis. The style of her is very fun to watch.
yeah, that's like tailor made for me. We had a big talk today with Jack earlier on a stream for Djokovic Kovacevic about the sort of tennis that we like watching and etc. So if someone was there, and I know a lot of these players, I'm sorry, a lot of these players, a lot of commenters here were there, so they know what I'm talking about. Do you see a top 30 level in Wang Xiu? Nurlan asks. Definitely there is top 30 potential in Wang
Yeah,
Xiu. She's not Qin Wen Zheng, but she and actually Xinyu Wang as well. I mean, they should be among the the WTA landscape in the future for sure. And they will keep making us like question everything when you have Xiu Wang and Xinyu Wang playing on the same day, and
yeah,
you keep asking yourself which one is it now. Yeah.
yeah. Lefty and righty.
Oh yeah, that's really the well when I actually see them, I can definitely like tell you which one this is, right? But when they when there are just like names on the order of play or something, I always question myself. Anyway, I guess with that, maybe we could talk about the men's drone. I mean, the men's matches now.
Yeah,
I don't think there's like anything else really that we need to mention. We talked yesterday about Pera being a big favorite against Kontaveit, Pavlyuchenkova against Fruhvirtova, just doing to the Czech what lots of power players have been doing to her recently. Almost a double bagel in Haddad Maya Maria as well, but we also talked about this. I think that the slice kind of sits up a lot from Maria on the clay, even
yeah,
if she won Bogota twice in a row, but that's not the same type of clay. Well, that's the same type of clay, but just the atmosphere is a lot different. So yeah, let's get to the men's side, I suppose. And there were a lot of five setters, which, as we
yeah.
mentioned at the beginning, it really brings out the excitement in a lot of these 7 5 setters today. So maybe which five setter was your favorite?
Well, I think the pair Nori one definitely was a good one because I mean, obviously you had pair just showing flashes of what made him the player he was, I guess, in sort of that 2013 to 2018 period of
Mm-hmm.
peak pair. And then with the crowd, he was really frustrating Nori, just throwing him off rhythm and just yeah, I mean, kind of playing the kind of tennis that we thought he might bring, very different from the U.S. Open, where he basically had no atmosphere, nothing, no energy to feed on. And this time, the French crowd like really played a big role, I think, in elevating him and his level. But from 4-2, he was up, I think, 4-2, and then he had love 15, and from there, Nori won the next 4 games to take the match. And I actually thought it was a good mental effort for Nori in the last 4 games. That's when he played some of his best tennis. But
Yeah.
yeah, what did you think?
Yeah, well, we talked about it last night, right? That like Per will definitely deliver in this match, and that's exactly what happened. He was just playing his best stuff. Maybe a bit of a shame for him that he couldn't end it, but I think he was still holding up physically all right. He of course was hitting a lot of errors, but at the same time they were backed up with these all these insane winners, just really reminding you what sort of talent he is, what maybe he could have been if the if maybe his mentality was a little different, I suppose, and if his forehand was actually a shot, uh, I suppose. But
Yeah,
yeah, a great match, definitely. That's also my favorite five setter of the day for sure, and exactly what we were hoping for, and it delivered on all cylinders, really. And yeah, next up for Nori is Luca Pui, and I actually think this will be just as competitive. I am kind of wondering like how well, just how much Pui has in his legs, like how much he has left in the tank. He played 3 matches in the qualies, of course, which were a few days ago already. So it's not like he should be tired by like the usual standards. But let's remember that this is a guy who has been on and off injured for the past 3 years or so, and also hasn't had a run in forever. So that's why I am sort of just questioning that. But if he actually plays like he did in the first 4 matches, especially I guess in the first round against Rodionov in the main draw, and also some of the sets against Tseng, some of the sets against Mahat. Well, 2 sets. I think both sets against Mahat were actually quite exceptional. Like if he plays something like this, I think he can, just like Per, he can definitely trouble Nori.
yeah. I think he has a good shot to win a couple of sets, even get this to 5 if he has the legs, um, and maybe even pull off the upset. Just because Nori has been like pretty up and down, and I do like Pui's backhand a lot, and I do just sort of like his all court game in general.
Yeah.
I think just definitely like he can come to the net. He can finish points very easily. He's been hitting the serve +1 really well in the qualies from the matches that I saw. So I feel like he's and then he's in like just a much better headspace now, and he has absolutely no expectations in this match, at least from the general public, and because his story has already been so good so far. I hate to say like he has nothing to lose because there's always something to lose, but I definitely think, yeah, I definitely think Pui has a pretty decent shot. I think they've played each other twice, and I want to say it's 1-1, but I
I
could be
haven't checked
wrong.
that, but
I
it must be so long
think
ago that it doesn't matter by now, I think.
yeah, I think they played once in 2021 when Pui was still
But
somewhat, in the top
yeah,
100,
so like,
150.
but he couldn't
Um,
really like. Did he beat Nori back then? I don't know.
no, he lost in 4. I think it was
Okay.
in Wimbledon actually. Yeah,
Do not remember their matches really. I can check that very quickly. Yeah, Wimbledon 2021, 4 sets for Nori first round. Also, that's the
yeah,
Wimbledon when Nori played Federer later.
yeah.
Yeah, I
That's the
remember.
one.
I
Right.
remember thinking that Nori had a very good draw there to reach Federer. To just reach the third round, and then Puyi won at the French. But 2018, that doesn't really matter. Of course,
Yeah,
that was before the huge breakthrough of Nori. Max also says, have to rewind this live stream and see if we talked about how far Medi can reach. We haven't talked about him here because it's like the daily show at the French. He hasn't played yet, so perhaps whoever is here tomorrow is going to talk about him. But just very briefly, we can say that I think both of us were in the agreement that well, he has just such a good draw that even if we have some reservations about just picking Medvedev to reach every single final, every single semi on clay right now, he just has such a good draw that you kind of have to have him in the quarters.
yeah. I mean, I have him in my final, but
I think I
that's
do too.
mostly
I think I do too. If I
yeah,
remember correctly, I think I have Alcaraz, Medvedev. But like the
yeah,
quarters is like an absolute must. Looking at his draw, frankly, like there's just no one other than Thiago Seyboth. I still kind of believe. Okay, I don't
yeah,
believe, but I think it is remotely possible. But yeah, I just think he has a draw good enough that he can get to the quarters. If he was to play my quarterfinalist Karatsev, I wouldn't be that certain because, like, if Karatsev is gonna beat Tiafoe, Zverev, and Sinner in a row, I think he's gonna be so fired up that he might as well defeat Medvedev. But yeah, like quarters seems like an absolute must right now, frankly. So yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
but there were like plenty of other five setters. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, I think Schwartzman coming back from two sets to love down against Zapata Morales was a massive, much needed win for Diego. Uh, that was a huge boost. Like, great effort to win the last three sets. Especially fourth. I mean, I didn't get a chance to see them, but Diego just cruised through those more or less. And then
Yeah,
the
but
key
that's
game, I think, in the sixth was when he was down two break points at 3-4. And once he got out of that game, and I mean, then he was just able to. Then he started actually hitting his forehand a little bit better, more cleanly. The problem for Diego has been like he can't finish at all with his forehand anymore. Like especially from the middle of the court, and he just has to work so hard to build points with that shot. I mean, the forehand always used to be somewhat obviously relative to other forehands diminished compared to backhands, but I think he just lost total faith in that shot the last what 7 or 8 9 months. But in this match, he actually started going for more on it and started to push Zapata Morales around with it a bit more just to open up angles. And I think he did a pretty decent job with that. Like I and he has a good chance of getting past Borges as well if he recovers, and certainly winnable. To get to the third round of the French would be a good result for Diego right now. I think,
would be an
considering where
amazing
he's at.
run. I mean, with
Yeah,
the sort of form that he had this year, I mean, it would be amazing. I still think that if Zapata Miralles was like 100%, there's probably no way he would have won that today. Anyway, yeah, Borges is not unwinnable. Definitely not. I still can't really think that Schwartzman is just suddenly gonna, wake up. Maybe it's just the last few matches that I saw from him. How little threat there is in his baseline game right now, and
yeah,
for a player who was like always kind of punching above his weight, I think it could be a little tougher to return to the top. I would probably imagine that his path will be something like, I don't know, go to South America in a few months when he's out of the top 100, play a few challengers there. Probably don't win them at first, but then sort of play himself back into form, and that would be something that is pretty exciting. That would be like a very natural path for him, I think. But against Borges, of course, he can win. Nuno was like
yeah,
choking so hard in the final set and in the third set against Isner. So it could be a very nervous
yeah,
match. They played this year, right, in Phoenix, and Borges won 7-5, 6-3, if I remember correctly, but it was on hard courts,
yeah.
so it's also a little different. Borges is definitely the better hard court player right now of the two clay courts. We will see. Ghosty is asking if Diego's problems are mental. I mean, some of them, definitely, right?
Yeah, certainly a big part of it. Like, I mean, I don't want to say out loud it's a decline because I'm a big Schwartzman fan. Not like Jethro, but certainly I have a soft spot for the guy. But it might be similar to kind of what Ferrer had in 2016. The only thing with that is like Schwartzman is what, like 30, 31, but he had about 3 4 years of sort of peak tennis. I guess you could say maybe like 2 or 3 years where he was really at his very best. But I think ultimately when the game gets better and the depth is better, which it has, and your normal game is just a little bit off, like it is with Diego, and you just don't have easy ways to win points. It can just be a brutal spiral like downwards. I think that's what we're kind of seeing with Diego. So it's probably a confidence thing, and I think. But I certainly am not going to rule him out because all it takes is just one challenger win in South America, like you were saying, or just one like great run, and could be could be in the post Wimbledon clay season maybe if he enters a couple of those tournaments like Stad or Bastad. But those have actually had some decent fields the last 2 3 years too. So I'm not sure. Uh, but I think yeah, and then his unforced error count has just been way too high in a lot of these matches. Um, like he used to be an absolute rock from the baseline, like when he was at his very best, and he kind of just isn't able to get that rhythm back anymore. But I could see like I think some people are losing a lot of hope in him from what I've just seen on Twitter. But I think I wouldn't totally rule it out yet. Even like Ferrer had some few moments of resurgences in 2017 and 2018 before he kind
Ferrer
of said
just
goodbye
had
in 20.
had a much more modern game, right?
Yeah. Um,
I don't think they're like really comparable in
I
terms
don't
of,
I don't
yeah,
really
just
know
the
who else
ease of
to
winning against. I don't really,
I don't know
I
who
don't really think
to
they're
sort of
comparable.
compare it to. Well, at least Ferrer sort of had some bread and butter plays, I guess, with his
Yeah,
forehand and his um, like his forehand was somewhat reliable weapon at some
yeah,
points.
like he was an attacking baseliner. He was definitely
Yeah,
not the sort of
he was
defensive
not
player
a
that people sometimes
defensive.
sometimes try to make him out to be. But yeah, with Schwartzman, it might be tougher because if it is really physical decline and it's like, I don't know, irreversible or something, then his style is just almost like purely based on that. And yeah, we're going to see. I do think that he will be competitive again. I just probably think that it's gonna take, yeah, just maybe him to hit rock bottom if he hasn't already, and then rebuild something maybe at the lower level. But yeah, for now, of course, he has a very winnable second round at the French, and that's also quite important for his ranking because he was in the
Yeah,
fourth round last year. He actually made another comeback, right, against Munar.
yeah,
Uh,
he did
I,
second round last
yeah.
year, 2 sets to love. So this is his third 2 sets to love comeback in his career, and all three have been at the French Open.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean the biggest one obviously was the 2018 one against
Oh, John is
Anderson.
showing
That
it
was
on the
that was the
screen
most
now. Yeah,
impressive. Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah. That one against Munar, I remember because
that's
Munar just completely disappeared after the first two sets. But of
mm,
course, it led to to Schwartzman being in the fourth round playing Djokovic. Did he? Right? I think he did.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, that's why these points are actually pretty essential right now. He has defended 45 out of 180.
mm,
Um, it still isn't
yeah. Fourth
really
round is gonna
enough to
be
keep
tough.
him
I don't
high,
see
right?
him
But
getting past. I don't see him getting past Tsitsipas at all for sure.
yeah, yeah. Not right
In the
now.
third round.
He is still outside the top 100 in the live rankings. Even if he wins one more round, he would be outside the top 100. So that kind
Yeah,
of tells you. But it's Schwartzman. He could easily get like wild cards in July to Bostad if he wants, or something like that. I actually think it would be better for him to get back to South America and play challengers, but we'll see. Assuming
mm,
that he doesn't like reach the forefront here and isn't in the top 100, but that's kind of what we're assuming, right? I mean, Schwartzman, Tsitsipas, nah, not don't really see it at this point in time. Thoughts on Felix Auger-Aliassime? What is wrong with him? I mean,
yeah,
Felix had a hamstring issue and also was sick last night. So, well, I wouldn't really look
yeah,
that much into this performance. It was just an awful clay season for him. Not necessarily, like, it wasn't necessarily his fault. The guy is out for a while. He plays Madrid, loses just barely on a court he really likes to Lajovic, then loses Rome in Rome in the first round as well. Needs to look for some rhythm, and when he can get it in Lyon, he actually has to withdraw because of a shoulder problem, and then another things
yes,
start coming up at the French. So basically, he was just super unlucky this clay season. On a surface, he never really liked. At the French, remember, he also never did well. Well, he did well last year, but that was also after surviving a very tough opener against Varillas, where he was 2 sets to love down. But he had opening round losses to Seppi Nishioka in recent memory. So nothing really. I mean, the priority for him is just to be ready for grass and hard courts right now. If he's struggling there, it's
yeah,
going to be some sort of a concern. Now, he just wasted a part of the season that wasn't really his forte anyway.
yeah. Totally agree. Like honestly, I wouldn't read that much into this, just because yeah, like for all the reasons that you said, and he also had a knee injury after like in
Yeah.
Miami, and then was definitely struggling. Like just hasn't really been fresh 100% physically. I felt like that at points in Australia and during the year as well, because last year he played the most matches of anyone on the tour, 87, and he just kept winning and winning and winning in the indoor season, and it just and then his season finished very late with the Davis Cup, and I just feel like this is probably a good time for him to take a step back, get those injuries solved, and then be ready 100% for the grass. Where last year he lost in the first round to Cressy, and he probably wants to do way better than that this year, where he's actually a contender, I think, at Wimbledon if he gets himself in the right shape. So yeah, and then of course he has many points to gain at the U.S. Open as well, where he's made semis before there. So I'm not that concerned about Felix, but hopefully his physical issues don't last too much longer. Just because he was very much in the mix at. I think he got to number 6 is his career high, right, for Felix. So I mean that felt right last year.
Oh yeah, I mean indoors he was at the end of the season he was definitely in the top 5, top 4,
Yeah.
easily.
I think
Um,
8 of his 10 finals have come indoors, so he's very much an
yeah.
indoor player.
At the same time, he had good runs at the slums, right? We can't really
Yes.
say that it never happened.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't really close to winning either in any of them, but he had also that Australian Open when he was super close to beating Medvedev, I suppose. So yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
he hasn't done it before. It's just that right now it's
Correct.
not really working out, but that's mostly due to some external reasons rather than anything else. When it comes to these finals that you mentioned, he has 13 finals and 5 of them were outdoors. So
Yes.
eight,
Five
eight out
five
of
outdoors
13.
because he had the two on clay as well, and then
Yeah, at the
the
beginning, Rio,
beginning of
Lyon,
his
and
career.
then in
Yeah.
Australia there was a one final hard court as well. Actually, pretty surprising. Like if you asked me that question and I had time to think, I probably would have known that. But like the fact that he still hasn't made a thousand finals also kind of telling too,
Yeah.
I
I think yeah,
suppose.
he's 4-9. I mean, that's not terrible because last year he did win 4 out of 5 finals that he was in. So I guess yeah, for him that was always the biggest question. Like, when is he gonna win that first title? And he did it last
Oh
year.
yeah, yeah, and he's only
But
had 2 semifinals at the ATP 1000 level, losing to Isner in Miami
yes,
2019 and also to to Rune, who like everyone in Paris last year. But that also like doesn't really tell the full story because between Madrid and Indian Wells, he made 6 consecutive quarterfinals at the ATP 1000
yeah,
level. So that's a pretty crazy stat as well. Pretty sure no one
yeah,
had this sort of consistency in that exact time frame. Anyway, actually, I was also thinking about this today that we have so many players struggling physically. Like just right now in this slam, we've got someone like Yun Cheng Shang who later said that he had mono recently, but he like is just unable to play after the first 2 sets. Zapata Miralles has some awful moments against Schwartzman. We have Draper retiring
yeah,
today. We have Auger Aliassime. We have Wawrinka, who was barely walking in the fourth set, eventually winning. We have Christopher O'Connell, who was also injured and barely was able to play against Taro Daniel. We've had Coria struggling, of course, he was also out recently. We've had Medjedovic, also who had some terrible moments today. Lajovic retired. I don't know, maybe it's just how taxing tennis is right now as a sport, but
yeah.
uh,
Maybe another
that's
thing with the
well.
2 week masters.
Hmm.
I mean, Iga, I thought Swiatek made a very good point when she said that these 2 week masters are not necessarily easier physically because your days off you're still working really hard and you're trying to get yourself in shape and ready, and if you're going deep
Mm,
in a lot of these tournaments, as well as I think that there has been a trend of more arm and elbow and shoulder injuries in general and wrist. We just look like there's a
that's
lot of high
also
profile
about the
players who've had
balls, right? Like a lot of people have said
and
that
that
it's
has to do
because of
with
the
the ball. Yeah.
balls. Yeah.
I think a lot of that has to do with the balls. Like I think Medvedev mentioned that in February, and I think he has a point because I mean, you
Yeah.
look at Tsitsipas, Medvedev, you look at Brooksby and uh, Korda, for example, their wrists, and then a lot of arm injuries, right? Like just I feel like it's very much the talk of this season. A couple of years ago, it was the abdominal injury, and now this year it's definitely the arm.
Yeah, but maybe
That's
let's talk about Carlos Alcaraz. He played today, his first
yeah,
match in Paris this year. Did we learn anything from this? And actually, I think we can sort of combine him with Novak Djokovic. I mean, they are the two main
yeah,
favorites. They both played today. They were like similarly comfortable, where the first 2 sets were just throwaways, and then in the third, actually something started happening. There was some action. I think both of them even didn't serve out the match on the first time of asking. And yeah, like, did we learn
right.
anything about Djokovic's form? Did we learn anything about Alcaraz's form? Is there anything that we can really take away from these matches, or were they just too simple for them to give us any intel?
No, I think it was the classic sort of like first round where like the first 2 sets, like you said, were very straightforward, not much resistance from the opposition. And then in the third set, when they had to close out the match, they were just they both got tight and lost their serves. But I don't think there's too much to read into it. I think with Djokovic, he definitely looks healthier than he did in Rome. Like I think he said that before the tournament that he doesn't have as many physical. He's not really doesn't have any physical issues. We'll see if that holds up. But it certainly looked like he was hitting his forehand much more freer and going after it a lot more. I think the AHs were up as well, and he did hit a couple serves in the 130s that I noticed. So I think it's looking good for both of them. Alcaraz also had a mini little dip when he was serving for it at 5-4, but then immediately got the break right back. Didn't even need a tie break. Uh, I think you got the exact number of games right for Kaboli versus Alcaraz. So well done there with
Uh,
7.
I mean, someone commented that, but of course, it's just super random,
I
and
didn't go back and verify, but I think
yeah, it could have easily. I think I literally said what the guy commented, just like 6, 7, 8, like something like this. But of course,
yeah,
it's not really tough. Like the I maybe figured
yeah,
it would be more like 2, 2, and 3 or something like this, not necessarily 2 love and 2, 0, and 5. But yeah, I also
yeah,
don't think there was really much to be learned. Djokovic looked healthy, for sure. Otherwise, Kovacevic, I think, had just a terrible matchup for him today, especially with the way he can, like when he's hitting through his topspin backhand, it doesn't really get the required depth. And for 2 sets, Djokovic was just like whenever he had a forehand, he was just killing the points in 2 or 3 shots, on his serve even
yeah,
quicker. And it's just a nightmare for Kovacevic, I think, on clay, especially because he cannot use that slice to bail himself out. This is something that he has improved so much this year. This is how he beat, for example, Ibing Wu in Dallas, or was it Dallas? The challenger final that they played, where suddenly he just started slowing things down,
oh, yeah. This
recovering.
was just before Dallas. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and here he cannot do that. He just cannot do that. He
Yeah,
cannot play a defensive slice because then Djokovic is just going to fire either an inside out forehand, inside in forehand. He's just gonna keep him guessing with the placement as well, and it's not gonna end great. And I think he was really battling against this a lot. And the first 2 sets, I know it's 6-3 and 6-2, but they easily could have been like Alcaraz, 6-2 and six
yeah,
love. And then the third set, I thought, got a bit more complicated. It got windy. Djokovic wasn't handling it that well. But of course, it's nothing really. It's scary. He still got the 3 set win at the end. Alcaraz was like playing a bit weird in terms of shot selection in the at the end of the third set. He suddenly
yeah,
started like serving volleying after pretty weak serves, and yeah, just making a lot of wrong choices. I don't really think that matters. Both guys were like just comfortably in. We're probably not going to learn much about Alcaraz until like fourth round quarters. And actually, we might learn more about Djokovic, I think, against Marton Fucsovic, just because of how competitive this matchup
yes,
has always been. And we will definitely learn a lot about Djokovic when he plays Davidovich Fokina, if Davidovich Fokina beats Luka Van Asch. But Alcaraz, we might actually not have a test for him until like the fourth round or something. Who can he play in the fourth
yeah,
round? Because I know in the second it's Daniel, then in the third round it's
yeah.
Chapo
Fourth,
or Arnaldi,
it's
and in the
Musetti
fourth round,
or Nori.
Musetti. Oh yeah, okay. So we can actually learn something in the forefront. I think Musetti, Shevchenko,
Yeah,
or whoever. Yeah, we can learn something in the forefront
yeah,
against
or Nori
Alcaraz.
or
But
even Pui. We'll see.
oh, Nori and Pui.
Um,
That's the section.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then we can definitely like whichever of these four opponents. I think Musetti, Shevchenko, Pui, Nori. We will definitely actually have something to analyze there. But in the first 3 rounds, probably not.
Something I just realized just now. I don't think Djokovic has ever lost at Roland Garros a completed match against someone who is a righty and has a two-handed backhand.
That's like
Because
I'm laughing because it's like not very far of like these very very specific stats. Like Djokovic has never lost on a day when he hasn't had a cup of coffee before 10 a.m. or something like that. But yeah,
no, I mean in this case,
righty to hander. Yeah, who did he lose to at the French? Nadal, of course. Meltzer, also a lefty. Um,
yeah. And then all of his other losses
Wawrinka,
to righties have
one
been against
hander.
one-handers.
Wawrinka, one
Yeah, because
hander, right?
Kohlschreiber 2009.
Cole
Yeah,
Schreiber, yeah,
Kohlschreiber
6-4,
2009,
three
and then
sets
Federer 11,
somehow.
Federer in 2011, and then Wawrinka 2015. And then Team twice, 2017, 2019, Cecchinato 2018.
Cecchinato, yeah, Cecchinato.
So, and then all the others, like 8 of those 16 losses are to Nadal.
And
And then so you're
before
just And then
And
2005
for
Korea, but he didn't
striker,
finish that match. That was not completed because he
that's
had
why
an
you said
injury.
not
And
completed. Yeah.
uh,
And
so yeah, he's
2006 he
never
lost to
lost to
Nadal.
a,
2017, 2007 he lost to Nadal, and 2008 he lost to Nadal. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, 6-8 is old Rafa. So
Um,
there you go.
yeah, I don't think you can really read that much into it either. It's kind of funny that he's only losing to one-handers or lefties, but he didn't lose to a
Yeah,
lefty with a
I think
one-hander,
on
though,
clay
right?
though, I mean they can get it up higher on his backhand, and he's maybe not as comfortable. When the ball gets up super high, and he's like it might be a little bit of an advantage if you're a one-hander on clay and you have a good way, unless of course you just leave everything short. Like there's a chance for that as well. Like you can just hit floating slices like the way this guy was doing today, Kovacevic, and then you're at the mercy of Djokovic's forehand. But there can be other times where like the variation and the height of the bounce, and just because if you're a one-hander, you can also hit it generally faster. Your MPHs are generally more. So I think you might have a power and variety quotient there that could make life a little bit tricky.
Mhm. No, no, I'm just laughing at the idea that Djokovic could lose to a lefty one-hander now because there just aren't that many, right? It would have
Oh,
to
yeah.
be Feli Lopez, Shapovalov, of
It
course,
would
is
have to be
still in the event.
Shapovalov, yeah, and that hasn't happened
Shapovalov
yet.
is the main one, I suppose. And yeah, I'm very happy to see all this hype about Shevchenko in the chat. He's definitely also one of my
Yeah, a lot
favorites,
of hype.
and that energy is fantastic. He's also like one of the few players I managed to like. Um, develop a relationship is too strong, but like we actually talked a few times at the events, and yeah, he's just super cool. So I also root for him a lot, frankly. And I even once made a fool of myself talking to him drunk, but he's cool, so nothing really matters. It was like a players' party at the Challenger, and I got way too drunk, and
Oh
that
my
gave me
gosh.
courage to like you know come up to players, do stupid stuff. But anyway, let's not talk about my drunk efforts. And let's talk about the French Open.
Yes.
Yes. What else do we have? Karatsev beat Popyrin. I don't know if we need to talk about that, but I'm glad that it
Yeah.
happened because if Karatsev lost to Popyrin, like we wouldn't even see if it's possible that he's gonna make this huge run, beating Tiafoe, Zverev, Sinner in a row. If he loses to Tiafoe, I'm gonna say okay, fair play. He lost to Tiafoe, fine. But if he like lost to Popyrin, I would be so disappointed that we didn't even see whether he is actually capable of this. So from that perspective, I'm certainly quite glad. Thiago Tirante won his first Grand Slam match in his debut, which was of course quite huge for the
I'm
former
just
junior
trying to
world number
imagine Damien. I'm trying to imagine Damien drunk.
one. Yes, John saw my drunk efforts in Bonn, absolutely. And well, I think I did okay. I woke up one night 6 a.m. on the couch. Then at 9 a.m. we had a stream already. So yeah, it was quite fun.
Yeah. Maybe I'll go back and look at that one. No, I'm kidding.
No, I mean I just read what Matthew said, and I'm sorry if I said anything that you felt was disrespectful, but well, that was just a one-time thing, really. Not everyone was drunk, just to be clear. The players who played the next day did not drink, just to be clear. Uh, but anyway, yeah. Fun story, but remember not to drink too much, especially when you're in an environment like that. I think I still left it like without scars, but it's not necessarily the right thing. I, for example, came up to Jerzy Janowicz and asked him if he would shake my hand, and I did it in English. I don't even remember that. Just people told me that I did that, and he said no. So yeah,
Krajinovic?
no,
Oh, okay.
Jerzy Janowicz.
That's Oh,
And
Janovic. Okay.
Janovic, and I asked him that in English for whatever reason. I don't know why. Uh, Hopefully he does not remember that. But yeah. Anyway, oh, maybe he's not gonna play anymore, and it doesn't really matter, and I'm never gonna see him again. Then I'm not gonna be embarrassed by it. But anyway, Let's stop with the drunk anecdotes right now. I really don't have that many either. So I kind of have to stop right now. Anyway, what else did we have today? Sinner, as we thought, was of course the last match of the day, and this is why we're meeting right now, right? When the last ball drops, and we it was not competitive, just as we thought. Was it yesterday that I
Yeah,
said that it would like shake my worldview if Alexander Miller won this match?
yeah,
I think so. So consider my worldview still not shaken by this. I was kind of disappointed with Medjedovic, not gonna lie. The crazy scoreline against Giron, I did not see the first set. I watched it from the second, and well, he was not all right physically. That's one thing, but he's kind of always not all right physically. With the fitness that he has, he is still a player who can actually counteract that. With just a sheer brutality of his game. But he only really had one set when everything was clicking for him, and the rest was just really
yeah.
quite awful. So not too happy about that performance, frankly, from the youngster. We had Dominic Thiem almost pull off a comeback. I think that was probably one of the biggest stories as well. Um, for me personally, I didn't have high expectations. I kind of started treating both Team and Kachin as like very same level players, just average middle of the road clay quarters, at least this clay season, I think. So yeah, not really that surprised with it. Anything else?
You had Struff going out 6-1 in the fifth to Lehechka. Um, yeah, that was a match that I certainly thought Struff would win, but it was. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but 6-1 in the fifth is a bit brutal, I must say. Not super shocking, but I just thought with the form they'd both been in, that Struff would go in as a favorite.
Oh,
Um,
he did go in as a favorite,
yeah,
but didn't maybe
yeah, he did
capitalize
go
on
in
that
as a
position.
did go in as a
Lehechka,
favorite, but
Lehechka was
uh,
was fine physically though, which was like a pretty big takeaway given the fact that just a couple of weeks ago he retired in Turin. But yeah, of course, like we've said it many times, Struff is not going to be a consistent force on the tour, but that doesn't take away from his peak level. But yeah, nothing really crazy there, I suppose. Can
yeah,
Lehechka beat Giron? Of course he can, but he has actually added a certain degree of regulation, I would say, to his game. So I would think that he probably does that. And what do you think, by the way? Because I've had some comments today on Twitter. I posted this photo of Casper Ruud's section. Do you feel like there are any threats in there, or is like Ruud guaranteed to make the quarters? We have so many explosive players in that section that I feel like every single one of them will have like at least an outside chance against him.
yeah. Like Lajovic going out to Zhang. So you have him. You have, I mean, Botic went out to Toronto.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, if you're Casper Ruud, you're probably a little happy about that, right? But Lehechka, Garon. I mean, I could see Lehechka in there. I could maybe see Jari, but then again, Jari is a little bit. He's obviously better suited to the altitude clay. Um, Tommy Paul, I'm not super high on right now. It's only won one match in the clay season, and I don't think the forehand does enough
No,
damage
he
on.
won plenty more in Aix-en-Provence.
Yeah, I mean, I meant on the main tour. Obviously, the Aix-en-Provence, he
French,
got to the
very
final.
disappointing. Very disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, did he have any good wins there? I mean, he beat
No,
Goffin.
no, his draw was really easy, but still,
It was a piece of cake to the final. I mean,
statements like that do not sit right with me.
um, I mean, Bublik? Question mark against Rude.
Yeah, I would like to see it, right? And like even Zhang then maybe playing Root and then potentially someone like um Jari or Lehechka. Like all of these just have that sort of explosive quality. They can come out and paint all the lines, and that's why I feel all of these matches will have at least some sort of degree of uncertainty to them. I've had a few comments, especially from one guy who just said that he's just frustrated with Ruud getting a cakewalk every single time. I think that someone like Medvedev here, for example, or Djokovic, they have very similar draws. Maybe
Yeah,
Djokovic has like the more one big real threat in Davidovich Fokina, who is probably stronger, or maybe like similarly strong to maybe like Jari, or yeah, maybe Jari, but he is, yeah, just stronger than the threats that Ruud has. But I think Ruud has more of them potentially, and Medvedev until the quarters, does he really have any threats? Not really. So yeah, I don't think that the contrast between Ruud's draw here and Djokovic's and Medvedev's is really that high, and I'm actually personally very excited for this little section of Ruud where yeah, just a lot of the players that I like watching are there, and I think most of them, if they actually have a good day against him, they could trouble Ruud. Don't know if Elias Immer counts in that group, but yeah, Bublik, Zhang. If he needs to play something like Bublik, Zhang, Jari, I think it's like guaranteed that at least one of these players will make him work for it. Not sure which one. Not sure which one will actually have a good. Yeah, we'll just peek on the specific day, but certainly. Anyway, we've been going on for like an hour, so I guess this is maybe where we can pick our favorite match again, and then talk about what's going to happen tomorrow. That would be, I guess. Yeah, that would
yeah.
be, I guess, the idea now.
I mean, today is yeah. I mean, I think that's about it. You obviously had Shapovalov coming through in five against Nakashima. I was a
Mm-hmm.
little bit disappointed in the game that Nakashima played in the fifth set, where he just kind of handed the break over to Shapo. Uh, I didn't I didn't think he would be the one to blink first, especially after winning the third and fourth. Yeah, he hit a double fault and then three forehand on forced errors in that game, and kind of the forehand is the shot that lets Brendan down a lot of the times. But that was a good win, obviously, for Dennis because he was not the favorite going in. Actually, the odds had Brendan. Um, but yeah, do you think he'll beat Arnaldi in the second round?
No.
No. Yeah, you have
Very
Arnaldi
clear,
in the
very
second round.
very quick. I don't think it's that clear, but I mean, I gotta treat Arnaldi as a better clay player at this point. I don't know if Arnaldi is like smart enough about his tennis yet. I think in some ways the fact that he actually has a very heavy forehand right now is still new to him, and I kind of wonder if against Shapovalov, where someone you kind of have to let him play as well, you kind of let him have to let him. Well, let him he Jesus, that's not a sentence that I can say. Anyway, like you kind of have to let him just, yeah, play balls himself, and that just maybe allow him, that's what I was looking for, allow him to hit himself off the court. So maybe that's something that Arnaldi could struggle with, finding that good balance. But just in terms of clay skill, I kind of have to think that Arnaldi is probably the better player right now, also with his yeah, just the fact that he's had so much more match practice, and Shapovalov never really doing well at the French. But it's not like he cannot do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe what was your favorite match of the day today?
Mm, see, I thought it would be Feast and Davidovich Fokina, but didn't quite
Uh-huh.
live up to the hype. So maybe I'll just go with the pair and Nori again. I'll go with that one. Why not?
Totally get it. That's also my pick. Even on that stream earlier that I did with, well, first by myself and then with Jack, I remembered already saying that if well, that pair Nori is probably gonna be my match of the day, and yeah, I'm sticking with it too.
Yeah.
I think Fuse Davidovich Fokina was fine. Maybe I wasn't like, I was really hyped for it in terms of the entertainment value, aesthetic pleasure, it and that delivered. I think it's just that I never really
Mm,
felt that would be that competitive. So maybe that's why I wasn't really disappointed. And yeah, outside of one set, it really wasn't close. It's a pretty
mm,
terrible matchup for Fields, but I'm glad he got that one set, because it could have been like, if what happened in the first set just continued over three sets. Mentally maybe it wouldn't have been that great for him, but yeah, he's gonna come back stronger. And anyway, Stanimal was the best match, says Matthew, and yeah, certainly that's a fine choice as well. Stan basically dead in the fourth set, then almost blowing the third set with many leads, then almost blowing the fifth set as well. That was quite wild. Huge win for him. Finally, he gets a win when he was close to blowing it, because most of the time this clay season it was actually the other way around, right? But thankfully right now it just turned out completely different. And there's actually a pretty interesting second round match there, right? Wawrinka Kokinakis. They haven't played yet, which means they also haven't played
Oh,
since Kokinakis banged your girlfriend. Sorry to tell you that, mate.
man. Wow, they haven't played since. Have they ever played before?
No.
This is their first meeting, right? Okay,
Yes, they
interesting.
actually played in doubles, though. I don't know if to count it or
Okay.
not. I can be racist to doubles. I gotta say. I will stop you when you actually try to not include challenger matches. When you start not including doubles matches, I think I won't really be that. Well, it just it's not that clear that we should include them for me. Let's say that. But yeah, they played in Brisbane 2017 when Kokinakis Thompson beat Pui Wawrinka 11-9. So they have played since, but only in doubles. I don't know. Maybe it just makes it a little more spicy, but it's a fun second round anyway. I think
Yeah.
Kokinakis will likely take it. Just seeing
Same.
Wawrinka's fitness today, I think that Kokinakis will make it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, let's maybe talk about what's going to happen tomorrow then, and wrap up the show this way, just like we did yesterday.
Sure.
Yeah, some of the most exciting matchups for you today. Sorry, tomorrow, of course.
Um, I mean, Thiago Seyboth, Wild, and Medvedev. Just curious to see how much Wild can push Medvedev. So that one definitely. Um, Baez, Monfils could be interesting, but we'll definitely be tuning in for a little bit of that since it's later in the day. For me, what else is kind of interesting? Let's see. Hmm, Runa Eubanks, just for the contrast of style.
I don't see it.
Or
Like
I don't really see it.
when
I don't see it
she's
being
just gonna
competitive.
neutralize that serve so much. Runa might be one of the best returners on tour, I think, right now, and
Yeah,
I don't see it.
Azarenka and Rescue just for like to see who is going to come out in in that match. And
That's like similar to Pliskova Stevens in a way, right?
yeah, I guess so. But you don't
Big
have as much
names,
history. You don't have
big
as much history
names,
with
but
these
I don't
two,
know.
and
Ah, okay,
BB is
yeah, yeah,
more
that's true.
is yeah, BB is just more interesting to watch in general than both those other players. So I can always tune in for an rescue match. Certainly. What else? Mm, Paul versus Stricker. That sounds like a good match.
I'm watching that definitely.
Yeah. What else is going to be good? I feel like JJ Wolf is going to beat Nishioka.
That's who I would lean towards, but it's not a very confident selection. But he's been good enough on the clay in the past month that it looks like a real possibility. Yes.
What about Munar versus Cerundolo? Could you see that being like a grindy 5 set match?
Uh, you could. Munar hasn't been in great form this year. When they played, Serundolo just smashed him off the court. I don't think this is gonna happen again, but like I would say that he is a pretty reasonable favorite. Kind of wonder if Masarova against Goff could be competitive. She has had some very fine moments this year, Masarova.
Yeah.
Of course, she lost to her in Auckland in the final, like 6-1, 6-1, which was a bit harsh, I think. I'm not sure it's like something that will happen again. Masarova, I guess it doesn't really matter for her, like what surface she's playing on. I guess for Goff, it would be better to play her at the French, but I don't know. That 6-1, 6-1 just kind of seems too harsh on her, but we'll see about that. I think Tsurenko Krejcikova, we mentioned that, or maybe it was another show, I can't remember, that when it comes to the tennis abstract ELO rankings, they are like very similar to each other. It's like a 50-50 according to ELO.
Hmm.
which sounds extremely weird, but who knows? But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think there are that many huge matches tomorrow. I think maybe I would like to check out how Fiona Ferro will do. She is one of these qualifiers, like maybe along with Towson for me, where they just could have done so much more if not for the injuries. And yeah,
Yeah.
would like to see if she's already there or not. Kalinina against Pari could be good too. Pari
Yeah.
has picked up her form a little bit. Oh, I also have to answer that pub trivia question from Ghosty, of course. Donna Vekic was Stan's girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
He left his wife for her, and well,
Yeah.
didn't go that well. But
No.
it is a bit of a crazy story for sure, with Vekic being just like 18 back then or something.
Yeah.
The heart wants what the heart wants, or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Selena Gomez. Yeah. I mean the. What was I gonna say? What's another match? Oh yeah, no, I really wanted to see how Jabor looks. That was the other one. Jabor against Bronzetti.
okay,
Yeah,
Brazetti just won Rabat
yeah,
naturally, so
that's why.
yeah,
And Jabor obviously has some question marks with her fitness, but
yeah.
I would love to see her play Rybakina in the quarters. That's a matchup I really want to see again.
That's really far away, I think.
I know.
Less so for Rybakina, because as we talked
Yeah,
about, I mean, she has a pretty good draw, but um, well, Jabeur in the quarters. Let me look at her section maybe.
let's
Danilovic or Kirstea in the third round. I think if I remember correctly, I would have had in the quarters. I would have had Kirstea out of all this.
yeah, I had
Um,
Kirstea as well.
yeah,
I felt like it was prayed for that, but
I am interested to see what Danilovic can do, though, because while I haven't really watched much of this run, she recently won that ITF in Madrid, which was
yeah,
actually like pretty stacked. Zawadzka, sorry, Bestormo in the final, and of course qualified for the French Open, and she's like barely losing games in all of these matches. So I am excited to see if that actually continues. She is playing Bindle, so the former Bindle is what, Kozlova, or I think Kozlova. I
mm,
always mix up these, players who have changed their name to their husbands. Unless it's like a tennis player, then maybe it's easier to make a connection. But I think it's Kozlova, and she is apparently a massive favorite according to the bookies. Danilovic, which probably comes from this streak and also from the fact that Bindel hasn't won a match since the Australian Open. And
yeah,
I guess this should be easy for her. And then like Danilovic Kirstea, that would be already a pretty huge match.
yeah.
No, I mean, Matthew, I just wanted to say that the heart knows where it wants, or whatever. How does the saying go?
Heart wants what it wants.
Yeah, heart wants what it wants, and it was referring to that thing. Matthew is very angry at me today. I'm not sure if that's maybe still the drunken story, or now my English shortcomings, but maybe he's actually not that serious given his
Yeah,
emojis right now. Hopefully not. I would hate it if Matthew is yeah, displeased with something I said. I definitely didn't know the Selena Gomez song you remember you mentioned. I just thought
oh,
it's like a
I thought
a
that's what you
common
were
saying.
referring. I thought that's what
No,
you
I
was.
was just referring. I think it's a saying, right? Um,
Oh, okay.
I don't think Selena
Yeah.
Gomez came up with it. So
No, no,
um,
no. I don't think so.
yeah,
But
I didn't actually know the song. I probably can't name a single Selena Gomez song. But I can name most of the songs that Max is referring to in the chat. As Ghosty said, she is usually referring to like more, um, just songs that are maybe a bit more in my time. Even though I'm of course not that old yet. Anyway, do we have anything else that we need to talk about? Everyone is waiting for that Mpechi Pericard Olivieri round one. Not really, but I am excited to see how it will look for sure. And yeah, Saipov with Medvedev. I lost hope when it comes to this matchup. I lost hope that it will be actually that the Brazilian has a chance to win, but I am excited to see how close he can get it. Hopefully. at least a bit close, so that it's an entertaining watch. Because like Kovacevic Djokovic, for example, today was not entertaining at all.
Yeah.
And I would hate to see that. I at least want some emotions. I at least want some drama. No, I figured, Matthew. I'm also kind of not serious with this stuff. Would be like a very sharp turn of character for you if you just started suddenly being serious with these sort of remarks. I think so. Um,
Actually,
I think I knew.
one more matchup for tomorrow.
Hmm.
Barrere might be a problem for Rusubori.
Uh, yeah, but is that relevant? Why do you think he could be a problem?
Well, he's just been taking the ball a lot earlier. He has some big wins. He beat Hachinov in Rome. Was it Rome where he beat Hachinov?
Rome. I think it was Rome. Yeah.
Yes, it was Rome where he beat Hachinov. And then, yeah, I mean, he tends to do better in like the indoor events, maybe. But he has some big wins on clay so far. Although he's the one match that I was talking about where Tommy Paul actually won, but and at the tour
Um.
level, mind you.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
no, I mean I
he,
think he could be
he only played
tricky.
one challenger, I think, this spring and lost in the first round to Fields. But
Yeah,
um, yeah, I mean, I kind of get what you mean. I mean, Barrer sucks on clay, but at the same time, he has scored a
mm,
few good wins this year. So
yeah, he
he
has.
doesn't like completely suck. Of course, his
Yeah,
playstyle is not really clay suited. No. But there is like a slight concern for me with Rusevori because his level this clay court season has been excellent. But at the same time, he ran into some very tough draws, like Alcaraz in the second round in Madrid,
yeah.
Medvedev in the second
Like
round in
how did
Rome.
this before? Like Rusubori has either lost to the finalist or the eventual winner in like five
Exactly,
tournaments.
and like
Yeah,
does that actually mean that he got the necessary rhythm, that he got the necessary much practice? Is he just that much better than Barrer that it's not gonna matter anyway? That's kind of what I seem to
yeah,
think. But I also remember Barrère making an upset last year in the opening round at the French, winning against Taro Daniel in 5 sets. And he was like playing some super inspired tennis in front of the crowd.
yeah,
This is something that we've been witnessing from a lot of Frenchmen the past week or so. So maybe if that becomes a factor, but it's always kind of hard to judge if it will.
yeah. Of course.
Yes. So I guess this is where we're gonna be taking this to the end. The night match tomorrow is Monfils and Baez. Also quite interesting. Can it be competitive? Oh, in the long run, I don't think so. But that would be another match where maybe the Frenchman can pull out some magic in front of the crowd. And this will be the match that when it finishes, you're gonna get this show. I have no clue who's gonna be on it. Maybe it's me, but we're gonna figure this out, of course, later. And tomorrow you're definitely gonna have it. So Jane, I think earlier you said that you're always late for these. So if you don't want to be late for these, at least this week during the French Open, and maybe also this week until the forefront, maybe also during the quarters, this show is just going to be there every single time right after the last match, the night match on Philippe Chatrier is over. So if you don't want to be late, that's one option. The other, of course, is to hit the notification bell. But I am actually pretty sure that Jane, you have the notification bell on, so I don't think I need to tell you that. Yeah. Any last thoughts? Anything that you wanted to add?
Oh, I think that's it.
Fantastic. I think this was probably similar in length to the show that we did yesterday. We'll see what the other guys do with it. We'll see who is here tomorrow. Anyhow, thanks for commenting. Thanks for watching the streams. And yeah, there's probably gonna be some watch alongs as well. So make sure to tune into that. The best way, of course, is to subscribe, hit the notification bell. Also, you can become a member. John said that there's going to be more member-only content coming. So, if you want to. I know there's like one 10-minute talk on Nicolas Jarry somewhere in the member-only content. Um, sort of folders or whatever. I'm not sure how many things are actually there, but I know one of them is my talk with John about Jarry, so you can still check that out. It was about Santiago, but some of that may still be relevant. Anyway, Thanks, guys. Maybe there's gonna be a drunk stream ghosty someday, but I don't know. People do that, but it's more on Twitch, right? On YouTube, I think maybe you get banned or
Yeah.
something, and we wouldn't really want that. I don't think it's worth it to see me
Maybe
drunk
one of
and
these
to
days
get shadow banned.
we'll have a talking tennis party, and we'll all get drunk.
Yeah, we sort of had a talk like this. I think when we were in Bonn with Mario and John,
Yeah.
where Nick and someone joined, but we had some weird internet issues, and it wasn't on the stream. Actually, we were still using StreamYard, but it wasn't on the stream, and we were drinking something. But I think we had some major internet issues, and the guys just logged out after a while. Anyway, thankfully, we did not have any major internet issues on the streams in Bonn. We didn't have them either. Is John there on the stream? Is he? What? Is he like sleeping or something? I don't know. Um, I guess this means that I will probably have to turn off the stream because he really seems to be asleep, right? Is that also how you read this?
When was his last comment? Let's see. No, I think he. I mean, he commented 8 minutes ago, so he
Yeah,
must be
but
there.
you can see him on the camera, right? And he's not moving. I
I don't
hope he's not.
actually.
No, you don't see him
No.
at the bottom of these. Oh, maybe I see it because I'm like an admin or something. Are you an admin as
Yeah,
well?
I don't think I'm an admin, so I don't actually see this
Maybe
on.
you don't see him for that reason.
No.
Okay, never mind then. I can't. I think I see his camera, and I think he might be sleeping. But anyway, let's stop there then. I'm gonna just end the broadcast myself if that's the case, and see you guys on some other shows.
Cheers.
Yes, Ghosty, he's not moving, but like I hope that he's fine.
We could
Maybe
do it.
the camera just froze, I can't really tell if it froze or not because there's nothing moving in his room. So, but I
You
hope
have
he
the
is fine.
outro memorized?
Come again?
You have the outro memorized by now?
No, definitely not.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
That's pretty good. I actually think I can find it actually, and but right now after you said it, I don't think we really need it, right, from John anymore. I mean, Van's
Yeah, there we
just
go.
basically whatever what John is really like what is he useful for, right? I mean, we can do this by ourselves. You know the outro by now. I can end the broadcast. I'm an admin. Anyway.
I mean, John is our recruiter. I mean, he's the
Yeah, that's true. He's the
yeah,
father of the family. He's the one
yeah.
who um is the brain behind the whole operation. We're just his minions. Anyway, I'm
There
gonna
you
play
go.
that video. I'm gonna play that video for you guys, and then we're gonna end the stream.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.